Hello, YouTube. This is Tyson with TVEnthusiast, and I'm joined today by my partner in crime here, William Roerig.
Hello.
So, today we are going to be talking about Game of Thrones, the season finale, Season 7, Episode 7, The Dragon and the Wolf. But we're going to be talking about only one part of that episode. We're going to be talking about Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, and his ultimate fate in this episode. So let's get started. The episode, the kind of first scene involved in this has Littlefinger and Sansa are talking. Sansa is unsure of her sister's motives and what her sister might do.
She's questioning, especially after last episode when Sansa found the faces and Arya sort of directly threatened her.
Mm-hmm.
Sansa is now definitely questioning her relationship with Arya and where it stands, and she's seeking advice from Peter Baelish, Littlefinger. And Littlefinger basically tells her a trick he does, which is to when you're trying to, he says when he's trying to figure out somebody's motives, he assumes the worst. What are the worst reasons they have for doing what they're doing?
And then breaking it down into questions like, why are they here? What is their purpose? What happens then? All these kind of things to kind of get to the bottom of it. So he goes through that. But before he talks about the Arya thing, he's putting a little bit of doubt on Jon Snow and the fact that he's going to see Daenerys Targaryen, and putting doubt, saying well, she is really beautiful and maybe he plans on marrying her. And so he's planting a few seeds of doubt there, but the most of it in this little game he has devised is focused on Arya.
It seems like he's planning to turn them against each other one by one. First Sansa against Arya, then Sansa against Jon. It seems to be what he's playing at.
Yeah. And so he's goes over this little game with her, and he uses it to cast Arya in a very bad light, saying not only, why would she kill her? Well, because, she married their enemies and because she was complicit in their father's death, even though she didn't intend for it. And what would, happen once she killed him? She would be the lady of that.
It's not just Peter Baelish saying these things to Sansa. It's him asking her the questions and she's coming up with the answer.
It's him putting the words in her mouth, basically.
Right.
He's kind of saying loaded questions slanted in a certain way to get her to think a certain way.
To think a certain way.
And then because she's saying it, she's saying it as if it's her own words.
If it's her, she came up with the idea, right? That's what he's doing. It's little mind games that he's playing. And basically, Sansa, through Littlefinger's manipulation, eventually comes to the conclusion that Arya wants the seat at the throne of Winterfell.
She wants to be the Lady of Winterfell. Everybody who knows Arya knows that's what she's always been after.
That's what, she won't shut up about that.
Yeah, even from season 1, she was like, when am I going to be the lady of the house?
Yeah.
So I want to marry a prince. When is that going to happen?
So basically, when Sansa comes to that conclusion, she has her guards summon Arya to the Grand Hall.
She's kind of somber. She has a little somber think about it, and then she finally says, bring my sister.
Yeah, bring my sister.
Arya shows up at the Great Hall. They close the doors. It kind of feels a little ominous. You see all of Sansa's knights are there in full gear.
Right.
So it's kind of okay, what's this going on here? And Arya's kind of sitting there. She walks in. She's a little bit amused. She's like, are you sure you want to do this?
Right. Arya she shows no signs of fear. She's confident.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you think going into this, Arya has something up her sleeve.
And Arya's like, are you sure you want to do this? And Sansa says, it's not that I want it what I want, it's what justice demands, or honor demands.
Honor demands. And then she accuses...
She's sitting also at the table with Bran, who's also sitting at the head of the table.
Yeah, Bran's sitting at the head of the table with her. So with Bran by her side, she accuses Arya of treason and of murder. And your first response is, wait, what? Where is she getting these charges. You know, suspicion alone is not enough to charge somebody. So, like, where's this coming from? You know?
It turns out she's not really charging Arya with these things. She's just looking at her as she says, we need to bring up charges of murder and treason. And then she turns and looks at Littlefinger.
Yes.
And then says, how do you plead, Lord Baelish?
And then Littlefinger's completely caught off guard. You know, he can't even speak at first, and you know, and
he said he absorbs every possible situation. He didn't seem to observe this one.
No, this one kind of slipped right by him.
Arya kind of turns. She's looking at him with a big smile on her face.
See, the big reveal was this whole time the animosity between Sansa and Arya, they were playing Littlefinger. They were, and he was falling for it. You know, he thought he was cleverly manipulating things when really they were just, Sansa and Arya were just providing Littlefinger the responses he expected, and in reality they were fooling him.
And any plotting they did behind the scenes, we weren't privy to. That was all kind of off screen.
The viewer,
we don't know how this happened. We don't know if Bran sent them a psychic message, or if they passed notes, or if they just used loaded phrases when they were talking to each other. We don't know exactly what it is, but somehow they were communicating.
Somehow they plotted this without Littlefinger, and you could say that doesn't seem plausible, because the fact that, especially with Arya earlier, we saw he was following her. So you already got the hint that he was keeping close tabs on them, you know, for the purposes of his machinations. So you have to wonder where they got the chance to plot in the first place.
There's so many ways they could have done it, though.
Yeah.
Arya, I think, was aware that Littlefinger was watching her.
Yeah.
She's basically a ninja, so if she wanted to, like, get some time to pass a message to Sansa or something, I'm sure she could, without anybody else knowing. Like I said, they also could have been using loaded phrases, like things that meant something specifically to each other, that other people wouldn't know what they meant by. Or, like we said, they have a supernatural brother with psychic powers.
Yeah.
So he could have been, like, you know, relaying messages some other way, for all we know. We're not privy in any way to how they were able to conspire. But that doesn't mean they weren't able to. It just means that we weren't privy to it. Yeah.
We weren't privy to it.
So Sansa lays the charges in front of Littlefinger. He's like, I'm afraid I don't understand. And he says, what part of the charges do you not understand?
All the bad things we saw Littlefinger do are brought before him.
Very directly. The murder of Lysa Arryn.
The murder of Jon Arryn.
The betrayal of Ned Stark that led to his death.
Yep, the betrayal of Ned Stark. You know,
and then betraying Catelyn Stark and Sansa.
Yep, betraying Catelyn Stark and Sansa. Littlefinger at this point, he's pleading. He admits to killing Lysa Arryn, but claims it was to protect Sansa. Sansa throws back in his face the fact that he sold her to Ramsay Bolton. So if he truly cared about protecting her, that's a load.
Littlefinger says that nobody was there. Nobody in that room was there when Ned Stark was arrested. So nobody can say what happened with that. To which Bran responds and talks in detail about Littlefinger holding a knife. It's actually the cat's paw dagger, I believe, to Ned's throat. And also, not just holding the knife to his throat, but exactly what Littlefinger said.
Right. To Ned.
Yeah.
Which was basically, if I'm recalling correctly, it was basically, the gist of it was Ned shouldn't have trusted him.
Yeah. Like, I told you you shouldn't have trusted me or something.
Yeah, I told you shouldn't have trusted me. He denies it, like, and it's important that the dagger comes up again because earlier Littlefinger gave that dagger to Bran, claimed it was Tyrion's dagger, and claimed that, and he claimed that it was the dagger that was held up to Bran's throat.
That was brought up as well. Sansa says that you told my mother that this dagger belonged to Tyrion when actually it belonged to you.
Yep.
So this is, everything's kind of laid out. Littlefinger at this point is like on the edge of tears. He's on his knees.
He reiterates, he claims he loved Catelyn. He claims he loves Sansa. Sansa's like, well, you have a pretty funny way of showing it.
He's like, if I could just get some time with you alone, I could explain this.
Yeah.
He goes to the
Lord general, the Lord of the Vale.
Not the Lord of the Vale, but the head knight of the Vale.
He's the Lord of the Vale.
Yeah.
He goes to the head knight.
Royce.
Yeah, Royce begs him to get him out of there, to save him. And he refuses. He's like I think not. F you.
Royce has never been a fan of Littlefinger, and the fact that they're laying charges that not only did he kill Lysa, but did he kill Jon as well?
Yeah.
Basically makes like the crimes against House Aaron even greater than the crimes against the Starks as far as like being direct.
Right. I mean, for the general there of the Vale, hearing those charges, they must be completely shocked.
He didn't seem surprised either. So I guess maybe like when they pulled in, they were able to alert him as well. I don't know. Or maybe he's just kind of like, he always suspected it, but now it's like being said by other people.
Yeah, he always suspected it, but now it's confirmed more or less. So anyway.
So he's not going to jump to Littlefinger's defense by any means.
So the Army of the Vale isn't going to save Littlefinger here. So
Littlefinger's on his knees, he's begging, he's talking to Sansa, he's pleading in tears. Sansa thanks him for his many lessons.
And then Arya slits his throat.
Yeah. Before Arya slit his throat, though, Sansa was able to throw back his little game of figuring out motives.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
back at him, which was great as well. So it's just like, you just see Littlefinger completely cornered, and then Arya just like thoughtlessly slashes his throat.
Oh, yeah.
And not necessarily like super cleanly either. Just kind of like a rough slash, which leaves him kind of gargling on his own blood as he dies.
She just does it quickly,
Yeah. And he just kind of falls over gurgling on his own blood and dies.
Yep.
So Littlefinger dead. And Arya, Sansa in a great relationship still. All the relationship BS we thought about with them last week and stuff.
It wasn't real.
Not real.
It was a show for Littlefinger.
We have a scene with Arya and Sansa after that, where they're both standing outside on the walls of Winterfell looking out, and they're talking to each other. Sansa is like thanking Arya for what she did, and Arya's like, I didn't do it. I was just the executioner.
Right.
And so she gives the credit to Sansa on that. And so Arya says, I could have never survived what you went through, which is a direct response to what happened in the last episode when Sansa said that to Arya, and Arya said, well, we'll never know.
Right.
But here's Arya saying it directly, that she could not have survived it. And then Sansa responds.
That conversation from last episode was a show for Littlefinger.
Yeah.
All those scenes of animosity between have been shown that they were putting up airs because they knew Littlefinger was watching them, in an effort to gauge how much effect his manipulations were having.
Yeah, and so Sansa responds to Arya saying, I don't think that's true. You would have survived it. You're the strongest person I know.
Yes.
And Arya says, that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. And Sansa's all like, well, don't get used to it. You're still weird and annoying.
Yeah, so they're on good terms.
The last thing I kind of really wanted to bring up about this scene and everything is there was a line that was in the trailer for this season that Sansa says, and we see her saying it here, which is, when the snow falls and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives.
Right.
And this is a line that their father said, and part of this is like a poetic line that I guess is just a saying in the family, but there's more to it, because he said this to Arya in season 1, and this is the full thing that Ned said to Arya, which is, let me tell you something about wolves, child. When the snow fall and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. Summer is the time for squabbles. In winter, we must protect one another, keep each other warm, share our strengths. See, so if you must hate, Arya, hate those who would truly do us harm. Septa Mordain is a good woman, and Sansa is your sister. You may be as different as the sun and the moon, but the same blood flows through both your hearts. You need her as she needs you, and I need both of you. God's help me.
Yeah.
And so this kind of really relays into it. They don't say this whole line again. They just say the part about the lone wolf dies and the pack survives. But it
reinforces the idea that they're sisters.
And that they're different, but they need each other's strengths.
They need each other's strengths.
Like, Sansa's this like diplomat and Arya's this killer, and they need each other.
Right.
And with each other, they're strong. And this is what allows Sansa to finally break away from Littlefinger, who she'd always been wary of.
She'd always been wary of. Yeah. She's always felt like, I wouldn't say like a prisoner, but she always felt like, you know, she was stuck with Littlefinger.
Yeah.
Like he was he was ever present in her life, and he's somebody that Sansa could not get rid of.
Yes. So that's it pretty much for this episode. If you want to hear our full discussion about this episode of Game of Thrones, check out our weekly podcast. We record it on Thursdays. It goes up on Fridays. This week we're going to be discussing the entire season finale of Game of Thrones, as well as the most recent episode of Twin Peaks, which will be coming to an end next week. So both of the shows we discuss are like ending.
Yes. Find new shows.
We're going to have a few little one-off podcasts following those two shows, because we're going to talk a little bit about Defenders and The Tick and maybe a few other shows. We're going to talk about some like ones that have popped up on Netflix and stuff. And then we'll wait a little bit until something comes back that we really want to discuss week to week in the same way we've been discussing Game of Thrones and Twin Peaks before we really get into another show like that. But There will be stuff for us to talk about in the meantime. So it's just not going to be the same kind of like two shows constantly us talking about it week after week, you know, right. At least for a little while. Just remember that there are some shows coming back this fall. Mr. Robot's coming back, you know. So there's some big stuff to talk about, but it's not right away. So we're going to fill in with some other stuff in the meantime. So look out for that. You can check out our podcast on any podcast client you use, iTunes, Pocket Cast, whatever. This video, as well as many other videos we've done, are available on our YouTube channel. And you can check out our site, TVEnthusiast.com, that has links to all that. So check that out. Visit us, read our other articles and stuff. So until next time, thank you everybody for listening. Valor Morghulis.
Valor Morghulis.